1, 2, ready, go, stomp. Clap, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Clap, clap, hit, clap, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, stomp.
This is High Tech High Unboxed. I'm Alec Patton, and that was Jason Nious kicking off the 2025 Deeper Learning Conference, accompanied by two other members of his body percussion group, Molodi. A couple hours before this performance, I sat down with Jason to talk about the journey that brought him here, and about what he's learned from dance and body percussion about connecting to young people in school. It was such a joy to talk to Jason, and I'm so pleased to be able to share a conversation with you. Let's get into it. So I want to start by asking about your first experience with dance. Were you dancing at home?
No. Okay. No, nothing. Nope. I think what I found over time, like we were riding in the back of my mom's car, right?
Yeah.
In Germany, military kids, and we'd beat on the windows, kind of like kids are just beating on the desk, making little rhythms. And that's what we would do because they were long drives from Homburg to Ramstein. It's like an hour almost, So we'd make beats. So I did find that there was a rhythm in me. There was already something natural. I'm not a trained drummer. Still am not. Still to this day, I'm not a trained drummer with sticks in hand sitting at a set, not at all. But that was the first any kind of inkling into the arts was, there was some rhythm there, Knuckles and wrists.
Was there music playing in the car, or were you just like...
We'd make it up.
Yeah.
We'd make it up because my mom had a 1978 buggy. And how many days we had to push start that car? In the German winter, it was cold, and me and my brother, we'd be out there. She's like, okay, do it. And be running, pushing. So that car didn't come with definitely no tape player, no way to play our own music. And the radio was German anyway. So yeah, it was us making our own music and singing and rapping and just making up songs,
So where were you born? Where did you...
Born in Texas, military base, San Antonio, yeah. That's where both me and my brother were born. And I lived there 1 year, I think a year and a half as a baby. And then we started moving.
Got it.
So it was 6 years in California as a young kid. Germany was 3 years, then like a summer in Arizona, then 2 years in Nebraska. And then those formative years of high school and college. That's where I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay. Yeah,
and then that switched again later. Yeah. When I moved later after, as an adult, moved to New York for a couple of years, then to DC for 5 years, and then I moved to Vegas, and I've been in Vegas 18 years now.
Okay. That whirlwind tour, there's a lot of those we're going to touch on, but I want to bring it back now to, so you were doing this dance performance of Rhythm Nation.
Yes.
Tell me about that. It was like an awards thing, right?
Yes, PE Students of the Month, and for some reason, it was like the knowledge and Rhythm Nation. Somebody came in and they taught us that, and it was part of the DARE program, drug abuse resistance education back in the day, and we were selected to perform it.
Right.
First time I had ever performed anything in life.
So like, you distinguished yourself in PE for some reason, and they're like, great, as a reward, you have to do a dance routine.
They think we can dance just because we could climb a rope. Like, I don't know where that part came from, but yes. And when you say distinguished, like what I was wired to do was always do the right thing, always do what adults told me, always try my best.
Yeah.
So it was very, very nerdy and but that wasn't outgoing. That was just do my job and get a straight A and do that.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from. And then it threw me into the arts when they told us dance,
Yeah.
Because I wasn't writing in a journal. I wasn't expressing myself. I was just always doing what I was told until I wasn't.
Do you remember something switching when you did that performance?
Not yet. Not really. It was just... No.
Relief.
I did not get the bug. No.
Yeah.
Strong no. That was not my thing yet,
That's so interesting.
It was actually through the sport of gymnastics, which when it clicked in my mind, so you practice. You're not competing yet. You're just doing all the, basic foundation, all those classes. And then I get into a competitive team, like we're going to state and regionals and things. When it clicked in my mind that, this is a performance for the judges. As simple as that sounds, we had a little meet. It might have even been a mock competition, but the parents clapped. For some reason on that day, I noticed. And I actually did a good routine on that day. I remember that. And they clapped. And for some reason, I think I saw one of the judges clapping, and it was something that tiny. all of my gymnastics changed. And everything that I was involved in, then it was like, ooh, start a step team. That was the actual bug.
Okay.
Was the sport of gymnastics. I equated it to a performance now.
So in high school in New Mexico, you start a step team. Is that right?
Yes.
But so New Mexico, not famous for having like a big African American presence.
Right.
And step, not famous for having a non-African American presence. So how'd that come about?
Saw it on TV, NAACP Awards. So when I saw it, everything inside of me says, that's me. Something about I need to be there. It combined my worlds together. Something about that rhythm, something about the unity of men and women up on there, yelling, shouting, full energy, precise, so even that militant background, like everything was together in there. And again, me being a military kid, I tell people, I'm usually one of maybe 2 Black kids in the room, especially in Germany and in Nebraska. It's like, it's just not a lot of us. And it was the same in New Mexico, where I think the statistic at that time was, it was less than 2%. It was like 1.8%, Black people in the state.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing in the schools, in the college and everywhere. So, yeah, so I saw it on TV. I recorded it on VHS, I slowed that thing down, and I just learned everything that I could, because it just hit me hard,
So if somebody asked you at that point, like, do you feel like there's an absence of African American culture in your life? Were you seeing it that way? Were you conscious that there was something that you were like looking for?
I wasn't conscious of it, but I knew something was missing. I didn't know. I was a kid. Didn't know what exactly it was. You're just kind of like looking at the world upwards, and things are coming down at you, and then do as you're told. Now, again, I would not trade that military experience at all. I would do all the things, and if anything, we'd go to other countries, So, yeah, it was culture shock. By the time I moved to New York and to DC, especially DC, oh yeah, there was some culture shock there. But the consciousness as a kid, no. Not to know that it was my community that I was missing. It was just something was missing. And then when I started attaching to the art forms and the music, and because we didn't even have the music, the streams of what was coming back from the United States, was so this one show, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Cosby, so we didn't get all of this block parties and everything else that was going on,
So like, you got to connect these pieces for me.
Okay.
You see this step performance at the NAACP Awards, and you record it and you watch it over and over again. You study it. You said like you kind of learned it, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then you go to your not very African American high school.
Right. Yeah. Hispanic, white, a smaller population of Black. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, let's start a step team.
Yep.
I mean, that is not the move of a like full-on rule follower.
I've noticed that across my life too. It's like some people start with a business plan. I didn't. It was like start with this impulse and then it will come. So that's how that one started. Yeah, my best friends became the step team, and then it kind of branched out a little bit more.
Right.
We never used signs. We just word of mouth say, hey, meet us over here in the cafeteria after school.
Yeah. And was it like a Black group of people, or was it like a mixed race step team?
It was pretty much all Black in high school on that step team. Yeah.
Were there other people who were like knew more about step than you did?
No, we were so experimental. We were just learning together. I showed them the video that I recorded. So it was really just that one video. That was the inspiration for everything. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's really cool. Have you ever talked to your teammates about that afterwards? Because I'll bet that meant a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, every now and then, like when I go back to Albuquerque, and it wasn't just the high school step team. It's really when I got to UNM, and then we started another one, a whole different one. That one had this long-lasting impact that,
So tell me about that.
So my high school step team was called Rage. And I remember one other friend, he was like, why do you call it Rage? Why are you so mad? I said, yo, this is aggressive. We got to do this. So we call us the Rage Steppers, He said, why not the Happy-Go-Lucky Steppers? I said, did you just hear yourself? You didn't? Because I heard it. You didn't hear that? Okay. So anyway, the college step team, we call it Rhythm Cartel. Non-Greek, but we did charter it as an organization. So, we can do things officially on campus and hold events and everything. That one was definitely multicultural. We had this a Latino guy who does flamenco and tap. There was a few other people, of different races, mixed races and everything. So yeah, we just wanted to do it, so we did it. But we're this like community style step team. It just felt good because we were on stage having a ball, you know?
Okay, so it seems like there'd been a big shift where it was like you're doing theater and you'd had that experience of really bringing something where there was, bringing something out of nothing. Were you thinking percussion, dance, stepping at that point? Or were you thinking theater? What were you imagining was your next step?
My number one goal in life, because those two things are what my young mind attached to. I had gymnastics. It attached to that, and I was a gymnast. That was my identity.
Yeah.
And then stepping got introduced, and then we started a step team. So in high school, I'm looking at both, right? And in college, I'm doing both. NCAA gymnast, and I got my step team there. The biggest goal with gymnastics is the Olympics, is what it is, right? With stepping, when I saw the show Stomp, the one with the trash cans and the poles and the brooms, that became my biggest goal in life. Our college team got cut. It was part of the Title IX cuts that swept the nation. So it was the realization, it's like, okay, probably not going to make this 6-person Olympic team. So it's kind of like close the door on that dream, that goal, and let that one go. But it moved on to, I want to be in Stomp. That was the thing that drove me after that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So did you move to New York to join Stomp?
Yes.
Wow.
To join Stomp. Was not in yet. It's not like I auditioned, they gave me a job.
Because it's only one cast.
So while I was in college, still in New Mexico, there was an audition in San Francisco. I flew out there, rented a hotel, rented a car, went to and so they do rounds like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you get selected, then you'll go on to Tuesday, and then it gets smaller, because at that time they had lines around blocks. 1,000 people are lined up, so they just need this elimination process. I got all the way to the end, and then it was like, no. That was the first time with San Francisco. Next time, after I graduated UNM and I moved to New York, my goal is to join Stomp. But I also
got close to that. So you did have a sense of like, I was almost there.
I was almost there, which was just enough of a carrot to keep going, So I get to the New York all the way through to the end, get to the final group. My friend who, you casted based on characteristics and skill sets and everything. So we were going up for the same role. And there's not this, like you said, there's only a limited number of casts. It's not this unlimited thing where, we can place you anywhere. No, you can't. So he got the job. That was my second time audition. I didn't get it. So I'm living in New York, and I didn't feel, I felt bad that I was like, oh man, but I really started getting into a lot more theater, doing regional and going out for different auditions. So, and then after that, Step Africa.
And that's in DC.
That's where I moved from New York to go down to DC because I got in to Step Africa.
Nice.
Yeah.
So was that your first big dance show that you were a part of?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And the experience was, we were going on college tours, different universities all over the United States. And when we did international assignments, Brazil, South Africa, Mozambique, Madagascar. And at that time, remember that movie, the cartoon, the Disney, Madagascar? I was like, I'm on this African island. This is crazy to me. That was like another whoa, this is actually happening. This is like real life right now, So Step Africa, my goodness, And so it was so good that I didn't get into Stomp until my third time I auditioned because I had all those 5 years with Step Africa in between, I
was born in DC.
Yep.
And so I've spent a lot of time in DC. So what did you notice about being in a place that has a long-lasting, rich, significant Black culture?
Chocolate City, straight up. I was like, whoa, the diaspora. The things that I was being fed as a kid on TV were these icons on TV, Denzel, Oprah, and Bill Cosby. It was so small, plus a different world. Come on, different world all day. So the diaspora, how we are in all parts of government, all parts of the, the embassy system, all these higher ed, all of these different universities all over the place. There was just way more than some of the stories that were coming through the media. The mass of the media stories were just negative, 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 negative. I'm like, yo, it's like everybody's from a ghetto. Everybody's getting off crack. Everybody's no is the truth. Like I'm just finally seeing for myself and living amongst, and interacting with at a museum, at the Kennedy Center, at these places of just, and this was normal. The normalcy of it was what was hitting me as the culture shock in a good way. That's what I started really ingesting. It's like, oh, yeah. Because at first you're like, there might be a little, not saying imposter, but like, do I belong here? How real is this? How long is this going to last? But then it's like, no, this is normal and this should be normal,
There's no way that you wouldn't have felt like New Mexico and Germany were like a different thing.
Yep. Not to overuse it, but where you basically are other all of your life, all of the time. You're an anomaly, you're other, not to say you're always treated bad, because that's not the case, Sometimes, I don't know if you know the term magical Negro. It's like, oh, yeah, we can put that part in there, but they have to be magical and supernatural and this and that and this and that, So I've been on that side of the coin as well, But the normalcy of excellence is one of the things that I learned from being in D.C.
And I think the thing is that when you are other, unusual, whatever people are bringing, positive or negative, to their interaction with you, people are bringing their idea about something.
Yeah. Yep.
And so you're always figuring out, I imagine, like, what preconceived notion is this person bringing?
Right, yeah. And that just gets complicated. I remember many times, there was an assumption that I grew up in the ghetto. As a normal thing, they say, oh, the black kids in the room. Oh, so, and you see their you see their head turn and this little sorrow type of feel, and they frown their brow. And I'm like, I was a military kid.
Yeah.
I was a military brat. I was in Germany eating bratwurst. What are you talking about? No, let's erase all of that. Let's just come to the table and ask a question if you have a question instead of all these assumptions, And I'll do the same. This is how conversations work. Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo.
All right. So stomp happens.
Yeah.
Third time.
The funny thing about that, I was feeling so good in DC. I was fully into my identity, myself. I was fully realized, the platform of Step Africa, how it nurtured me. Then the city of DC, just how I worked, and how I started really, really, really planting roots there. And then I go to Las Vegas and I audition for Stomp. And I threw it up to God. I was like, yo, this is number 3. So I'm good on 3. If they don't want me, they just miss it out. And I just had this attitude, I feel great in DC. I love the roots, everything that I'm doing over there. I started getting nominated for awards and doing this. I just had and I was building a real career out there. And then I get stomped. Then it's like, yeah, we're going to have to close all them doors, uproot you, put you back to rookie status. Let's move you way over here and start over again. Yeah. But you got your dream. Yeah, okay, let's do this. So I rolled out, brand new, back to the bottom of the pile, work, and then, reestablish.
Yeah. But how was it cool being on Stomp, though? I mean, it must have been.
Loved it. It was probably the most fun show and rewarding, because it was hard. Yes, my goodness. But yeah. To this day, I think that was one of the most rewarding shows I've ever been a part of. Yeah.
So now we're getting to where Molodi comes from, right? Am I pronouncing that right?
Molodi. Like lottie-dottie.
Okay,
got it. Party. Hey. Yeah. Molodi actually started before Vegas. It started while I was at UNM in Albuquerque.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We had Rhythm Cartel in college. So Rage in high school, Rhythm Cartel in college. I also had one at my church, FMBC. We're the Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church Steppers. And then as an offshoot of Rhythm Cartel, there were a handful of us, I think it was 6 of us, who just continued to experiment and doing more. Then we started finding these little outlets at, theaters and showcases and cabarets to just do a new routine and do a new thing and be on stage for 10 minutes. So that was the original Molodi. Then everybody graduates. Then I moved to New York. This one moves over there. This one moves over there. We start our careers. And then 6-7 years later, 3 of us find ourselves in the show Stomp in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow,
in the same
that's
cast.
wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then we decide in Las Vegas, let's restart it,
So, I mean, I don't want to put too much on you here, but those other people, it seems unlikely, if you hadn't started Rhythm Cartel, that they would be in Stomp.
One of them would have, but yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I mean, that's huge.
Maybe not anybody else.
That's like a wild thing. To
Yeah. You don't even know what you're planting until like later it reconnects.
So you're all in Stomp, and how did the idea of like, remember that thing we used to do? Like,
Right.
How'd that happen?
There's a thing with the Vegas shows. I think it's pretty much across the board, and I've done enough Las Vegas shows on the Strip to know what I'm talking about now. So I've done 6 different Cirque du Soleil shows. I've done other shows on the Strip, you know, like residencies and things like that. They use a portion of your talent and you get a lot of satisfaction. Then it becomes super duper normal where it's like, oh yeah, here's my job. I love my job. Let me do what I do. But then that creative spark in you starts to grow, especially because you're doing the same show all the time. Doesn't even really get boring because there's always something going on. There's an injury, there's a mistake, the lift didn't work, this, there's always things that keep the shows exciting, right? But if you show up at 5 and you're out by 11, that does mean that you have your whole first part of your day to do what you want.
Yeah.
So a lot of us, we're, you know, idle hands. We want to keep creating. So we keep on creating. So that's where part of that came from, you know, going to entertainment directors of this cabaret space and this little small stage, not the 2,000 seaters, but, you know, it might seat 200 people in there, 100 people over here. Then they start creating events. Then they put a flyer out. And now you get all of these world-class performers from all these shows on the Strip doing these small little cabarets all over the place. It was really just about creative expression, you know? And there was a certain number of years where that culture was just so thick, and that was prime for Molodi to say, yeah, well, let's jump on in there. And then they started asking us, hey, can you come to the next one? Can you do the next one?
And at some point, education comes into it.
It does, yeah. It just goes hand in hand. That's what I found over time. When I was with Step Africa, it was like half of our work was touring professional shows. Half of it was staying in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area and doing arts education and school shows, and not just shows where you sit there, you clap for me over here. It was integrated with why are these arts important? What does it really do for self-confidence and identity and all of the things that are sparking in all these different ways? We had to start putting language to it. It's like, yeah, that's what it does, you know?
So your Molodi is doing these sort of cabaret things. How'd the idea come to take that
into schools? The opportunity came when my cousin, Sansuri, she was living in California, and then she had some connections with the school district, and she said, hey, they want you to do an assembly. I was like, oh yeah, I already know how to do assembly. Let's put this together, you know? So then we took a batch of us, we went up there, and we started doing some assemblies at the few schools that she did. And then we started getting a few schools in Vegas, and then the Smith Center, our local performing arts center, the Broadway touring outlet, they noticed because they have an arts education outreach program. And they were like, we've been watching you. And we want you to come in and we want you to basically be one of our artists in residence, you know? So then now I didn't have to do all the booking, all that, you know, it's like, they just send us an assignment. And so then it just grew and grew and grew and grew. So now every school in Vegas knows who we are.
When you started working in schools, what did you notice about the kids? Like, what struck you?
Kids want discipline. This happens to be a dance form that is very loud. It's militant. It is ingrained with a lot of discipline that's not about be quiet. It's really about be louder. And so there's something about that outlet, and then how we're talking to them and yelling, and they know that it's a persona, right? I said, I'm putting on this character, you know, like they're not crying or anything. But
who's the character who's yelling at the kids?
Oh, no, he's a straight up drill sergeant. He's like, attention! You know, like, yeah, we're going around and we're just taking on this persona, you know. So, and of course, we embed it with jokes, we make it fun, but we're helping them to understand their control of their own body. Can you control your body? That's the number one. Like, you hear any sound and your body turns. It's like, no, can you stay focused? Can you keep your arms straight? Did you know that your fingers are out right now? No, make fists, back straight. You know, you do it even inside of one assembly. They're only with us for 45 to 50 minutes, right? But there's 3 to 4 repetitions of this one thing that they have this control of themselves, their bodies, because they're looking at us model it. They're listening to us talk about why it's important. You're not with the rest of the team. Your arms are down. Is that a straight line? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, cool. Then like, I'm important. That's what's coming. I'm important. Oh, let me pay more attention to, what I can do and what I can control. That, but from the beginning of an assembly, 45 minutes to the end of the assembly, and their excitement. And then we hear back from teachers and parents all the time. Why is my boy over here clapping and stomping? I don't know what the rhythm is. He off beat. I don't know, but he's just excited. He's happy. Then I heard it was a Molodi show came to his school and this happened. So this passion grows. This thing grows. I can do that grows, So now that can bleed into any other thing. If I see a thing and want to try, let me try it. Because we're teaching them how to learn that scary thing or that other thing way over there. Here's a pathway. Well, let's just try it. Let's break it down. Let's do it again. So we're even in that short little time, they're learning that seed of how to learn and how to get passionate about it,
Yeah. From the way that you interact with kids and what you do, what do you think it would be helpful to teachers who aren't necessarily teaching PE? They're not teaching dance. They're teaching math. They're teaching history. Like, what can they take from what you've learned?
Use who you are in the classroom because it's the truth. This was one of my good friends. She was a substitute teacher. Then she became a perma sub. So she was there for 4 months through the end of the school year when the other teacher quit. So that was a high school. So you got this, I'm too cool for school, just disconnected and just taking this easy little class just to get past it, whatever. The way that she engaged with her corny jokes. It's not about dancing and being this show person, the show woman, showman and everything. She's just, no, I'm going to start with a corny joke every single morning. They started melting and these too cool for school. Like for real. Hey, miss, yo, where's the joke? If she came in one day, she didn't have a joke. They started writing their own jokes. What she was doing was connecting because she was just being herself. It is the real thing, and maybe that's for younger teachers who just graduate. Now they're in their first or second year and they still think that by the book is, it's like, yes, by the book, and do not start closing yourself off. You need to be, that's how you're going to be connecting. And that's why they're going to start opening up. If you open up, like Miss Jenkins, she talks about herself in that way. Miss Jenkins is having a bad day and this is what it looks like. So can y'all please, the noise for real is not it. It's not it today. And she'd let them know what that feels like, what that sounds like, what that feels in her body. She's taking her breath. She's like, I'm going to step out for 30 seconds because I need a break, right? And she tells them this is what management looks like. And they're modeling that. And then you see them start to do the same behaviors because they're learning all the time. So even in the good, the bad, the talented, the skills, the everything that you have, you're modeling all the time. So bring it, use it to empower your teaching and connection with those kids, Yeah.
I think that's a perfect spot to end it. And you got to go sound check.
Yep.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Jason Nious. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk. It's
all
been
right.
awesome.
Thank you. This was fun.
High Tech High Unboxed is hosted by me, Alec Patton, with editing by Stan Alcorn. Our theme music is by Brother Herschel. Huge thanks to Jason Nious for this conversation. You can find information about Jason's work and about the Deeper Learning Conference in the show notes. Thanks for listening.